What if the voice in your head isn't your truth, but just an echo from the past? Every time you hear, "You're not enough," remember that it's only a memory pretending to be real. In this lesson, you'll learn to quiet that voice, reshape your thoughts, and reclaim control of your inner peace. Most people live their entire lives believing every thought that appears in their mind. They assume that because it feels real, it must be true. But science and psychology show something deeper. Most of your thoughts are not conscious decisions. They are automatic programs stored in your subconscious mind, quietly shaping how you see yourself and the world. Your subconscious is like a giant recording device that started collecting information the moment you were born. It absorbed the tone of your parents' voices, the reactions of your teachers, the laughter of classmates, and the pain of rejection. Every compliment, every insult, every moment of fear or embarrassment was stored deep inside, creating emotional imprints that influence how you think today. So when you hear a thought like, "I'll never succeed," or "I'm not good enough," it isn't new. It's an echo, a memory that your mind keeps replaying because it once helped you survive emotional pain. Those old beliefs were designed to protect you from being hurt again, but now they keep you trapped in the past. The first step toward freedom is awareness. You must become a witness to your own thoughts instead of their prisoner. When a painful thought appears, resist the urge to believe or fight it. Instead, observe it with curiosity. Ask yourself simple but powerful questions. Where did this thought come from? Who planted this belief in me? When was the first time I felt this way? Often, you'll find that the source of your belief is something small but deeply emotional. A moment when you felt unseen, unappreciated, or unloved. Realizing that these thoughts have origins outside of your true self begins to weaken their grip. The act of observation itself is healing. When you shine light on the shadow, the illusion loses power. The thought no longer controls you because you've recognized it for what it is, a story from your past, not a fact about your present. You cannot change your past, but you can change your relationship with it. Every time you choose awareness instead of reaction, you rewrite your mental script. You begin to separate who you truly are from the voices of fear and doubt that were never yours to begin with. Freedom starts with seeing clearly. And when you finally see that your thoughts are not you, you discover the quiet strength that has been waiting beneath the noise all along. Negative thinking becomes destructive not because of the thought itself, but because of the loop it creates inside your mind. The pattern always begins with a simple trigger, a mistake, a rejection, or even a small comment from someone else. That trigger activates an old belief from your subconscious. Suddenly, you hear the familiar inner voice say, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never get this right." The moment you believe it, emotion takes over. You feel sadness, anger, or shame, and those feelings push you toward unhealthy reactions like withdrawal, overthinking, or self-criticism. Afterward, guilt arrives, whispering, "Why am I like this?" And the loop begins again. Most people live inside this invisible cycle without realizing it. They think they are reacting to life, but in truth, they are reacting to old memories repeating themselves. The brain loves repetition because it feels safe, even if that repetition is painful. Breaking the loop requires awareness, not resistance. You cannot fight your thoughts and win, because what you resist, you reinforce. The key is to pause between thought and reaction. When a negative idea surfaces, Your goal is not to silence it, but to observe it without judgment. You can mentally say to yourself, "That's an interesting thought," or "Thank you, brain, for trying to protect me." These simple sentences create distance between you and your thought. That small gap is where freedom begins. Once you have noticed the loop, you must interrupt it through action. Physical movement is one of the most powerful disruptors. Go for a short walk, stretch your body, take a shower, or breathe deeply for a minute. Changing your body changes your emotional state because your physiology and psychology are connected. What you do with your body sends signals back to your brain about how to feel. Another method is to redirect your attention towards something neutral or positive. Call a friend, listen to calming music, or write down what you are grateful for in that moment. Gratitude interrupts fear because the brain cannot hold both states at once. When you deliberately focus on appreciation, you begin to dissolve the emotional charge that fuels the negative loop. It is also important to remind yourself that a thought is not a command. Your mind constantly throws ideas at you, but that doesn't mean you must act on them. Think of your brain as a radio playing hundreds of channels. Some channels are empowering, others are painful. You always have the power to change the station. The simple awareness that you can choose what to focus on takes you out of autopilot and returns control to you. Breaking the loop does not mean that negative thoughts will disappear forever. The goal is not to eliminate them but to prevent them from controlling your emotions and behavior. Over time, as you continue to interrupt these cycles, your brain begins to rewire itself. The loops lose their strength because you no longer feed them with energy or attention. Remember this truth: emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. A feeling of sadness, guilt, or anxiety may knock on your door, but you decide how long it stays. When you stop identifying with every emotion, you create space for peace to return naturally. The next time you notice yourself falling into a spiral, pause, breathe, and remind yourself, this is just a loop. I have the power to break it. Then, take one small action. Move, breathe, speak kindly to yourself. The act of doing something different, even for a few seconds, tells your brain that the old pattern is no longer in charge. With practice, these pauses become longer, the loops become weaker, and your mind becomes a calmer, safer place to live. You begin to respond to life instead of reacting to it. And that is the first real taste of emotional freedom. Your mind works exactly like a garden. Whatever you plant and nourish inside it will eventually grow, whether that is peace or pain. The problem is that most people unknowingly feed their inner enemy every single day. They water the weeds instead of the flowers. Over time, those weeds take over the entire garden of the mind, leaving very little space for joy, confidence, or calm to grow. One of the biggest sources of that inner pollution is digital overload. Every time you scroll through endless posts, videos, and opinions, your subconscious is absorbing invisible messages about how you should look, act, and live. The brain does not fully separate fiction from reality, so constant exposure to other people's highlight reels makes you believe that your life is not enough. It creates a subtle feeling of failure, as if you are behind in some imaginary race. The more you scroll, the more you compare, and the more you compare, the weaker your self-worth becomes. To protect your mental energy, you must become intentional with your digital habits. Start by asking yourself, Does this content make me feel inspired or drained? If it drains you, unfollow it. If it inspires you, keep it. Replace the habit of scrolling with 30 minutes of silence, reflection, or real learning. Your brain is not designed for constant stimulation. It needs stillness to reset and heal. The second hidden poison is toxic repetition. The subconscious learns through repetition. Whatever message you hear often enough, it accepts as truth. That includes the songs you play, the conversations you join, and the stories you tell yourself. If your playlist is filled with sadness, heartbreak, and anger, your mind will begin to mirror those emotions in daily life. You start feeling emotions that do not even belong to you, emotions borrowed from the content you consume. To shift your mood, start changing the soundtrack of your life. Listen to music that lifts you up, words that teach you something new, and stories that remind you of hope. The third poison is your mental diet, the thoughts and conversations you feed yourself each day. Many people spend hours discussing what they hate, who betrayed them, or why life is unfair. These topics might seem harmless, but they are forms of mental junk food. Just like eating unhealthy meals daily damages the body, consuming negativity damages the mind. You begin to expect pain, disappointment, and failure. Eventually, negativity becomes your emotional default. To break this cycle, you need to detox your mind the same way you would detox your body. Start by becoming aware of what you mentally consume. Notice the words you use when speaking about yourself or others. Do you focus more on problems or possibilities? Do you complain or express gratitude? Awareness will reveal whether your mind is currently nourished or malnourished. Then, begin to clean your mental environment. Your inner peace depends on what surrounds you. Remove digital clutter. Stop checking your phone first thing in the morning. Those first 30 minutes after waking up are when your subconscious is most open to influence. Instead of absorbing random noise, fill your mind with something intentional, a quiet walk, deep breathing, or a page from a meaningful book. Likewise, protect the last 30 minutes before sleep. Avoid watching or reading anything negative before bed. Your final thoughts of the day become seeds that your mind processes overnight. As you practice this mental hygiene, you will notice how your thoughts begin to slow down and become lighter. Anxiety decreases because your brain is no longer overloaded with emotional garbage. Confidence increases because your attention shifts from what others are doing to what you can control. Over time, you create a clean mental space where clarity, focus, and calm can grow naturally. Think of your mind as sacred ground. You would never throw trash into a temple or a garden you love, so do not throw mental waste into your own consciousness. Every word, image, and idea you allow inside shapes who you become. When you stop feeding the inner enemy, the enemy weakens. When you nourish the inner peace, peace expands. The transformation begins not when life gets easier, but when your mind gets cleaner. Because you cannot plant peace in polluted soil, and your thoughts are the soil of your entire life. Your mind is like the home you live in every single day. You cannot escape it, and you cannot renovate it once and forget about it. It requires daily cleaning, small acts of care, and a willingness to remove what no longer serves you. Just as dust builds up in a physical room, thoughts and emotions build up inside the mind. If you do not clear them, they begin to clutter your focus, your peace, and your ability to feel joy. Mental hygiene is one of the most powerful but most neglected habits of modern life. People clean their bodies, their homes, and their social media feeds, but rarely their inner world. Yet the mind is where everything begins: motivation, creativity, courage, love, and purpose. Keeping it clear is not optional. It is essential. Start with the first method, the thought shelf. Imagine your mind as a room with a small wooden shelf in the corner. Whenever a recurring worry or thought appears, the same one that has visited you hundreds of times, picture yourself placing it gently on that shelf. Tell it, "I'll handle you later." This small visualization teaches your brain that not every thought requires immediate attention. Some can wait. This separation between you and your thought gives you control and stops the cycle of rumination. Next, practice the emotional temperature check. Once a day, stop and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Where in my body do I feel it? Emotions live in the body before they reach the mind. Anxiety often sits in the chest, anger in the stomach, sadness in the throat. By identifying the emotion and its location, you move from unconscious reaction to conscious awareness. You name it, and what you name, you can manage. Then move to the one-word journal. Before going to bed, write down one word that captures the essence of your day. It could be peaceful, tired, hopeful, or confused. This simple ritual trains your awareness and helps you see emotional patterns over time. Some weeks might be heavy, others might feel light. Over time, you begin to notice what influences your mood, which situations drain you, and which ones lift you up. The fourth practice is the mental walkthrough. Close your eyes, take a slow breath, and mentally replay your day as if you are watching a short movie. Move through each event from morning to evening and notice where your emotions shifted. Was there a conversation that left you tense? Was there a moment that sparked joy or pride? The goal is not to judge but to observe. When you find something that still feels heavy, acknowledge it and release it with a slow exhale. Then comes the digital pause. Every day, spend 1 hour completely free from screens. No phone, no television, no computer. At first, your brain will resist. You might feel bored or restless because your mind is addicted to stimulation. But soon, you will rediscover the silence you have been missing. In that silence, your real thoughts begin to surface. You might find solutions that endless scrolling could never give you. This is where creativity and self-connection return. Finally, create your own reset ritual. It can be as short as 30 seconds. Sit still, close your eyes, and take 3 deep breaths. On each exhale, repeat silently, "I release what doesn't belong to me." Imagine all the stress, judgment, and energy you absorbed from others leaving your body like smoke in the wind. This ritual reminds you that not every emotion you carry is yours. You are allowed to let go. When you make these small habits part of your daily routine, your mind begins to feel lighter and more spacious. You will think more clearly, sleep more peacefully, and respond to life with greater calm. Clarity is not something that arrives once and stays forever. It is something you cultivate each day, just like tending a garden or cleaning your room. The truth is simple. You live in your mind every hour of your life. Keep it clean, and it becomes your sanctuary. Neglect it, and it becomes your prison. Every day, you have the power to choose which one it will be. The human mind is like a stage. Only one performer can stand in the spotlight at a time. If you want to remove negativity, you must give that spotlight to something else. That is why resisting a thought never works. It only keeps the negative performer standing in the center of your mind. When you tell yourself, "Don't be anxious," your brain still hears the word anxious. The mind does not process negation, it processes images and feelings. If you say, "Don't think about failure," your mind immediately imagines failure. This is why people often end up focusing on the very thing they want to avoid. The key is not to fight your thoughts but to replace them. You cannot delete an emotion by force, but you can redirect it by choice. Imagine changing the station on a radio. You do not destroy the static. You simply tune in to a clearer frequency. Start with the technique of reversal. Whenever fear whispers, "You will fail," respond gently, "What if I succeed?" This simple shift forces your brain to consider the opposite possibility. Your subconscious begins to create images of success, which weakens the power of fear. Next, practice the "so what" method. When your mind turns a small mistake into a disaster, pause and ask, "So what if I mess up? Will I still be alive? Will I still be capable of learning?" This question shrinks the imagined catastrophe to its real size. Most of what we fear is exaggerated by imagination, not reality. Finally, use the upgrade method. Replace self-limiting phrases with growth-oriented ones. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," try, "I'm learning how to handle this." Instead of, "I'm not confident," say, "I'm building confidence." The moment you change your language, your brain changes its direction. You can even anchor new thoughts with physical action. Take a deep breath as you repeat your upgraded sentence. The body and mind are connected. When your body relaxes, your thoughts follow. Over time, this practice rewires your inner dialogue. The mind that once repeated old pain begins to echo new strength. Remember, the goal is not to have a silent mind but a supportive one. Every time you replace a destructive thought with a constructive one, you are not just changing your mood, you are training your brain for peace. And soon, positivity stops being an effort. It becomes your default setting. The harshest critic you will ever face does not live in the outside world. It lives in your own head, the voice that whispers, "You'll never be good enough." That voice is not your truth. It is the echo of old experiences, of moments when you were hurt or misunderstood. It tries to protect you from pain by keeping you small, but in doing so, it traps you inside that pain. The first step toward healing is separation. Give that inner critic a name. Call it the judge, the doubter, or simply the voice. When you name it, you recognize that it is not you. It is only a memory repeating itself. Once you see it clearly, you can speak to it with compassion instead of fear. Ask yourself a simple question. If someone you love were speaking to you with the same pain, how would you respond? You would never tell your best friend, "You're a failure." You would comfort them, remind them of their worth, and help them stand again. Now, do the same for yourself. Speak to your own heart the way you would to someone you love deeply. Each night, give yourself permission to let go of the weight you carry. Whisper quietly, "I forgive myself for today. I am learning. I am human." This small act releases shame and replaces it with gentleness. You begin to see that mistakes are not proof of weakness, they are evidence that you are growing. Healing does not mean forgetting the pain. It means transforming it. Think of the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold. The cracks remain visible, but they become part of the design, a symbol of strength and beauty born from imperfection. Your emotional scars are the same. They are not evidence of failure, but proof of survival. You can use your pain to create meaning. The sadness you once carried can become empathy for others. The fear that once controlled you can become wisdom you share. Every hurt you have faced can be turned into a lesson that helps someone else heal. And so, the final truth is this: negative thoughts do not define you. They are only visitors passing through. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. Remember, every time you respond to pain with understanding instead of anger, you are rewriting your story. And over time, that story becomes one of strength, peace, and self-trust, the kind of confidence that can never be taken away.